Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out here for you. So we're going to be talking about the country of Estonia. This is a NATO member, and we're talking about this gentleman in particular. His name is General Martin Herem. He is the commander of the Estonian Defense Forces. So he has recently come out here in the last few days and suggested that Estonia, along with many other NATO nations, should prepare for a possible blockade of the Baltic Sea. Now, what would they be blockading? Well, they would blockade Russia. So, Russia is really the only country there, aside from NATO members, that has access to the Baltic Sea. That being Kaliningrad, which is part of Russia, and then also the St. Petersburg area of Russia. I'll show you on a map here in just a moment, has access to this sea as well. And yeah, he's considering that NATO completely blockades the Baltic Sea. And the reason why they would do this, I believe they would do this personally if they were to go to war against Russia, because what this would allow is they'd have full operation and control of the Baltic Sea to allow their navies to come in. All the countries that are part of NATO could allow their navies to flow in to this region, and it would make it very easy for them to use their navies to attack against Russia if there were to be a war that would break out, because it would happen probably somewhere around Belarus or Western Russia near the Baltic states where Estonia is currently at. So I want to show you this real quick on a map. Okay, this is a post. We'll go over this post real quick too. This post was actually not too long ago, April 27, 2024. This is from Jay in Kiev. He's a very big supporter of Ukraine. And he says here, why is Europe allowing Russia to use Kaliningrad as a base for terrorizing civil EU aviation? What he's referring there to is Kaliningrad down here has been jamming GPS to civilian aircraft that have been flying over this region around Poland and Lithuania. Their GPS is being coming up reported as jammed. So that's mainly what he's talking about there. Russia only controls 2% of the Baltic Sea, yet we allow them to treat it as their own personal lake. And he says these are the objectives they should do. Blockade Kaliningrad, which is this little piece of land down here, which is separate from Russia, I might add, if you weren't aware of that. Russia's way over here and Kaliningrad's right here, but this is Russian territory. Close the Gulf of Finland to all ships. Okay, Gulf of Finland is right here next to St. Petersburg. This is Russian territory, this kind of yellowish color over here. And St. Petersburg is right there. This is the Gulf of Finland, this piece of body of water right here. Kick Russian savages out of Kaliningrad, which would be here. Hand those weapon stocks to Ukraine. So they want to say give these weapons here in Kaliningrad and give them to Ukraine, but they would have to take over Kaliningrad for that to happen, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. And then he says it's time for the West to stop being such a, you guys know what that word is there. So, yeah, so real quick here, I just wanted to show you this map to kind of give you an idea here of why they may want to blockade the Baltic Sea. And I think eventually, if there were to be a war to break out against Russia and NATO, they would definitely do this anyway, because it would completely block access to this sea for Russia and their navy to use it to target any of the NATO members. So basically every country here, Germany, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, Norway is not, I believe, but all these countries right here that surround the Baltic Sea, except for Russia, are all NATO members. Okay, so only Kaliningrad and Russia here, Russia mainland, have access to this Baltic Sea aside from the other NATO members. So if they were to blockade this and not allow ships to come in through here in the Gulf of Finland or to access the ports at Kaliningrad, it would effectively cut Kaliningrad off from the mainland, and then it would prevent any Navy ships from Russia from accessing the Baltic Sea, and they would have full control of this, and then they could bring their ships in, NATO could, that is, and use them to launch attacks on Russia or Belarus, because Belarus would probably be a part of this too, and they would be able to launch, missiles from here, or maybe even the Gulf of Finland, and attack targets inside of Russia. So that's why I wanted you to see that. So this is a very interesting story, and I'll tell you, this story was not really widely talked about. I actually found this on X at first, and then I went and researched it and actually found an article here that we're going to take a look at. This is on a Ukrainian media outlet called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Militarny. Militarnie, I'm going to call it, but that's the name of it right there, okay? So it says here Estonia proposes to blockade the Baltic Sea for Russia. And it says the commander of the Estonian Defense Forces suggested preparing for a possible blockade of the Baltic Sea. General Martin Herem's statement is quoted in the Defense Forces yearbook. According to General Herem, Estonia has the capabilities to achieve this goal. The Navy currently has both naval mines and anti-ship missiles in service. Along with Poland, Sweden, and Finland, which have just joined NATO, we should be able to attain one of our key objectives, the possible blockade in the Baltic Sea, General Martin Herem said. According to the Estonian general, this makes it extremely unlikely for an aggressor to be able to deploy naval and air defenses in the Baltic Sea, which enables us to provide allied aerial and naval support. So you see what I mean? So it would essentially kick Russia out of the Baltic Sea, and then it would provide NATO to create cover and protection with using aerial and naval support. So using their guided missile destroyers, using their aircraft carriers that could carry their their fighter jets, things like that. This would allow them to strike targets on Russia if there were to be a war breaking out, because most of this war would probably take place, near the Baltic states, inside of Belarus, close to Poland, maybe even Ukraine, all along those regions there, close to Estonia, okay? So General Herem noted that the land forces were also developed well. The Estonian division, set up slightly more than a year ago, has proven its effectiveness in all respects during exercises, Herem said. Estonia has doubled the strengthening of its land defense and upgraded its anti-tank and air defense capabilities. Estonia has also started procuring large caliber munitions and plans to commission more propelled howitzers, armor personnel carriers, medium-range air defense systems, and multiple rocket launchers within the next 2 years. At the same time, he said, these capabilities can prevent an occupation, but they may be unable to deter routine military aggression aimed at destabilization. Finally, it says here, we should continue our adaptation and make hard decisions, Herem added. As previously reported in April, Swedish and German military forces intercepted a Russian reconnaissance aircraft in Swedish airspace. So, definitely a big story, and I feel like this should be a story that should be covered more. That's why I wanted to personally cover it, because I feel like this is a very important story. I mean, I don't know if this is something that NATO would do prior to a war breaking out. I think it's something that they would do after a war broke out. I think they would definitely want to take control of that Baltic Sea to prevent Russia from having control of it. And they could definitely use that to launch attacks inside of Russia if they needed to. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see what he is talking about here. I just don't know if what he's mentioning when it comes to wanting to do this whole blockade, if this is something that would happen soon. Obviously, they say they're preparing for it, but we don't know when this operation could be launched. But yeah, I wanted to share this with you because to me, what this shows is more in-depth planning that NATO's preparing to go to war with Russia. Okay, they're already doing this steadfast defender exercise, this major 90,000 troop exercise, tons of equipment. We're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles, tens of thousands of soldiers, and they're obviously preparing for something major to go down with NATO nations. And I believe a lot of this obviously has to do with Ukraine. So we're still waiting to see if Ukraine's going to be able to hold the line. And if they're unable to, we could see NATO forces getting involved in Ukraine potentially. And that's where we could maybe see this whole blockade of the Baltic Sea happening. But I personally think it'll happen after a war breaks out, or very close to the time that a war is about to break out. But let me know what you think down below. This is a very interesting story. Let me know what you think about this story. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comments section. That's going to be it for this update. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.